And welcome everybody, it's Dan. Hope you're well today. Welcome to the Sales and Marketing Show. My earphone just fell out, as you do. Anyway, hope you're well today. Let's talk about what every business needs for digital presence. And so, obviously, we get to talk to quite a few people who are in business. And some have been in business for a long time. Some people are just kind of getting into business, and actually recorded a video about this earlier today. But the way that we do business today, 2024, and this decade, I suppose, is vastly different than the way that we did business just 10 years ago, and completely and utterly different than the way that we did business 20 years ago in 2004. I mean, God, they were the happy days, weren't they? Before it all went to shit, basically. But the way that we do business and the way that we market and the way that we generate cash flow and income has dramatically changed over the last 10, 20 years. Even the last 5 years has changed a lot. The way that we used to do videos, for example, that's changed tremendously in just 5 years' time. And people think that you need a massive amount of footage or video copy to actually get out there and to make it look half decent, and you don't really. The key really is about you staying in front of people as much as possible, so that when they have an interest in what you do, they can then go and buy whatever it is that they want to buy from you, who happens to be the service or product provider. But in order to do that, you need a website. And people go, oh well, no, I don't need a website, I need a Shopify store. Okay, Shopify store and website's kind of the same thing. But I don't really see the point of having a Shopify store if you're selling Amazon type stuff anyway. There's no traffic going to a Shopify store, but if you upload your product to Amazon, it's already got pre-made traffic already. But if you're a service type company, like for us, for example, we're a service type company, you've got to have your own store, your own website. It doesn't matter what that website is, you've just got to own it. You've got to own your own piece of real estate, your own piece of digital land. And the idea here is that you drive traffic to that piece of land, to that billboard in the ether, which is your website effectively. And then the idea, once you've got people from socials onto your website, is that you should be doing the call to action, the next simple step. And we'll talk about that, and we'll go into a bit more detail about that later on. But the key really is that you've got to have a website. One of the massive things about having a website, and one of the really important aspects of having a website, is the amount of credibility that it actually builds for you and your business. And if you want to demonstrate your credibility, certainly things like live streaming, for example, explaining how your product and service works, talking about whatever it is that you happen to do, like that will help you establish some credibility. And then ideally you want to take that footage or that video or that image or whatever it is, that long form piece of copy that you've written on Facebook, you want to take that and then you want to embed that onto your website, and you want to drive traffic back to your website. And so this is really, for us, this is key. We talk to a lot of people in all sorts of different industries. And usually, it's not the same for every industry, but usually 99% of the time we want to drive traffic from socials back over to the website, because the website is where the transactions are going to take place. And the transactions will take place once you've got credibility on your website as well. So I was having a conversation on Facebook chat just this morning, actually, and it was about do they turn off their socials because there's not a lot of content going out on socials right now, so do they remove that from their website? And I'm like, no, let's fix the problem, which means get some content going out on socials instead of kind of putting a plaster over it and pretending it's not there and pretending it's not a problem. You've got to face it head on, and you've got to get content onto your socials and then drive traffic back to your website. And so you've got this idea of credibility, and especially in 2024, I mean, it's the 2nd of May today, so it's local elections in the UK. The amount of credibility that politicians have is so low, probably the lowest of all time in recorded history. It's so bad. Nobody trusts anybody anymore. There's no honesty anymore. It's so easy just to lie. And just say things that are completely and utterly untrue. And even though things are fact-checked, just doesn't matter. They just keep saying the same lie over and over and over again. And it's just bullshit, right? And so you've got this massive lack of credibility in this year and as we move forward. And if you can be the person that stands out and shows how credible you actually are, comparatively to your competitors and other people in the marketplace, then you're going to stand out. And it's actually one of the biggest pieces of feedback I get is, when people meet me face to face, they're like, "Oh, you're just like you are on your podcasts." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't change. I am who I am on stage, on a podcast, with my mates at the pub, Mojito Fridays, whatever, right? You have to be the same. You have to be authentic all the way through." And that will help you. But there's no point in being authentic if you're as authentic as hell, but you've got nothing to do with that traffic. You've got to be driving traffic back to your website. And then from your website, hopefully you'll get them onto the call to action or the next simple step, which we'll talk about later on. So in order to drive traffic, then, you've got to have a good social media presence. And most people haven't got a good social media presence. They post when they feel like posting. Well, that's not going to work, is it? It's like going to the gym when you feel like going to the gym. Well, I never feel like going to the gym, so you're never going to go, right? So once you kind of get rid of choice as being an option, and you go, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every single morning, 8 a.m, whether I like it or not. That's where I am right now. Guess what happens? I go to the gym every morning, 8 o'clock, and it works, right? And so if you say to yourself, okay, I'm going to go post something at 1 p.m, every day, I'm going to go live every day, I'm going to schedule a week's worth of content on Sunday night between 8 and 9 o'clock. I'm going to create some images, I'm going to write some long form copy, and I'm going to have at least one post every single day going out. Then you're starting to build some credibility on your socials. Then you're going to find it much easier to drive traffic back to your website. And then guess what? You're going to find it much easier to actually sell whatever it is that you happen to sell. So I've got an example then. We've got a company that we just took on about a month ago, actually. So we've had a full month with them in the month of April. And I'm just comparing January, February, March and April's views. So like website visits in January was 7,500, February was 5,500, and for they had 10,500. So like instantly an extra 25% above their best popular over Christmas. And so in January, there's always a lot of demand for that particular product. People need to know how to use it. So January is always very, very busy for them. And we beat that traffic website-wise by 25%. And how did we do that? So let's just have a look here. We run Google Ads for them. So in January, 42% of all traffic came from Google Ads. In April, that was 64%. So a massive jump up there because we're running some really good Google Ads for them. In February, that was like 35%. In March, it was only 16%. So a massive jump on Google. When we look at actual website impressions, is it website impressions? I'm just looking at my other screen that you can't see here because I can't share this. But yeah, if we look at Facebook impressions, that's always a good one. Facebook impressions in January was 5,500. In February was 2,500. In March was 1,800. And then since we've been working with them in April was 13,000. So you could add up all of the last January, February, March is about 12,000. So April was 13,000. So for April, we absolutely blew it out of the water. Let me have a look. TikTok views, for example, didn't have a TikTok channel. They got 11,000 views, 295 TikTok followers, which they didn't have before. YouTube impressions on YouTube, they were getting about 1,000. Now they're getting 8,300. And all of this is because we've been posting on social for them. And because we've also been running some very good Google ads. But the Google ads are separate. And so when we're talking about percentage coming from Google ads, obviously that's a massive jump up. But that's not to detract from the amount of work that's gone into the socials. It's always a balancing act. And when you shove out a lot of very good Google ads and the cost per click has come down and so on, because we know what we're doing, when you shove a lot of that out, obviously the percentage is going to increase in terms of traffic from Google ads and your Facebook will decrease. But the overall amount of views, as you can tell, where was that number where we Facebook impressions 13,000, whereas in January it was only 5.5. I mean, just for I mean, think about this, right? So in January, 42% of all traffic came from Google, and in April, 64%. That's bearing in mind that in January they only had 5,500 Facebook impressions, and in April they had 13,000, nearly 3 times the amount. So, like, if you imagine all of that in terms of actual web impressions, that's gone up phenomenally. Just a huge amount of website impressions, then clicks through to the website. I'm just looking, by the way, if you can see number of page views. Yeah, so page views in March was 8,700, and in April it's 35,000. I mean, it's just, this is the difference, okay, between having, for example, Google Ads and a really good and consistent social media campaign versus not having all of those. It's a game changer, and this is why you should be investing in your socials. People, they ignore it. They get the car stickered up, and that's really fine. It's a good idea to do that. Get some leaflets dropped. Yeah, that's also a good idea. But you've got to be running some Google ads. You've got to be running some Facebook ads. You've got to be running some content across the socials, because that's where you're going to close a lot of business, as long as the website has an ability to actually convert that business into full paying customers. The third bit here then is inconsistency. So, like, we've done that in the month of April, and then I was just actually checking out what have we got lined up for the month of May for this specific client, who's a new client. And I'm looking at all the stuff that we're doing for this client. There's a whole bunch of stuff, including opening up some new locations for them on the Google Ads, for example. But you've got to be consistent in both your advertising and in your social media marketing. And sometimes, even though you're consistent on putting that content out, it may take 2 to 3 months to actually see the conversions not necessarily go up on your website. But, if you're getting 10% conversions 3 months ago, you'll get 10% conversions in 6 months. But if you're driving 1,000% more content, you're going to close more business, right? But it can take a while for that to kind of translate through, because people are seeing you on the socials. They've not seen you because you've been so inconsistent in the past. Now they're starting to see you, but they still don't trust you. Because remember, right at the start of this podcast, we talked about the credibility. Are you a fly-by-night? Are you just here today and gone tomorrow kind of thing? Here this month and not next month, and then there next month and then not the following month. You've got to be consistent in your advertising and in your digital marketing. And without that, it will simply fall flat on its ass. So the final bit here in terms of building a strong digital presence is you've got to find out what's the next simple step for the person to take. So, for example, in this video, just below it says, do you want to talk about your marketing? Can't remember what it says. Do you want to talk about your marketing? Book a 15-minute strategy call. And that's where you jump on a call and we talk about your marketing, right? Really easy. It's really simple. I'm not trying to sell you anything. It's just like, where are you stuck? What can we work on? Where do you need to work on? What bits are you missing? Let's have a look at your website. Let's have a look at your socials. We'll tell you where the gaps are, and then you can either plug them yourself or you can come to us and we'll do that work for you, whichever is easiest for you, right? But the idea here is to sell the next simple step. And what a lot of people do is they'll run a Facebook advert, for example, and then on that page, or it might be a Google Ads, but on that page, they're trying to sell you directly off a page. And they're trying to automate that process, right? And usually it doesn't work. The reason why it doesn't work in 2024 is because you've got no credibility. They've seen you on a Facebook ad. They've never seen you before. You send them to a page on your website. And often it's not even a page on the website that's specific to the advert. It's just the homepage for a lot of people. We're sending traffic to the homepage, then wondering why that doesn't work. But you send them to a landing page, let's say, and then you're trying to sell them off the landing page. That's also not going to work. You can't do that. You've got to build up trust and honesty and credibility. They've got to know you, they've got to like you, they've got to trust you, they've got to see you however many times. The average number of marketing messages we used to get like 10, 20 years ago was like, I don't know what it was. It was like, I don't know. I'm making numbers up here, but let's just say it was 300. In the pre-internet days, it was 300. I'm making that up, by the way, just for clarity. Now, how many marketing and advertising messages are you being shown every day? 3,000? Like, you've got to be consistent in terms of putting out content. You've got to be credible. You've got to be consistent. You've got to build knowability, likability, trustability. All of those things are absolutely vital. And if you can't do that by being consistent in your digital marketing, you're not going to be able to close that business. It's as simple as that. And so if you're kind of on one week and then off another week, and then you don't feel like it the next week, the system that you've got for creating content and pushing it out there is going to fail. And that means your business is going to fail, or it's going to struggle, and you're not going to be able to close the amount of business that you should be out there closing right now. All right, I hope that's useful. Nice little short one there. Let me know if you need a hand. Just fill in the form down below, and we're here to help, of course. Other than that, we'll catch up with you in the next one. Have yourself a wicked day. My name's Dan Latto. Take care.